that we live on today is about 4.5 billion years old. And the life began around 3.8 million years ago. From the single-cell primitive anaerobic bacteria to the complex multicellular organisms that we have today. The evolution has taken over a period of time a long, complex journey. In fact, this journey has been disrupted and interrupted by mass extinctions which have wiped out many a times more than 90% of the life forms. The continents, as we know them today, have also undergone a drastic change. In fact, starting from a composite land mass, the continents have fragmented and moved away from each other over a period of 650 million years. We in the first part of the series traced the history of evolution starting from early stages and came up till Permian extinction, which is around 240 million years ago. Now we catch up with this story again and begin from Triassic period, which is about 200 million years ago. This is the time when fungi started to split into individual continents. Close to the end of Triassic period, around 200 million years ago, fungi began gradually to split apart into individual continents. The glaciers melted and the oceans rose and reflooded the continental shelves, forming vast, shallow island seas. Deserts appeared across the world. At the start of the Mesozoic middle life era, the life forms again diversified, but the lineages, very different from Permian age, started dominating the earth. Many invertebrate groups which were restricted to living on the surface of sediments evolved into burrowing life forms. On land, the trees which dominated the great coal-forming forests were replaced by woody gymnosperm such as cycads, ginkgos, conifers, and seed forms. The Earth's biota, which until now was relatively homogeneous, became increasingly provincialized. Distinctive flora and fauna evolved on different continents. From the primitive amphibian stock, reptiles became free from the ties to water by evolving eggs that could survive in terrestrial environments. Diversifying rapidly, reptiles eventually gave rise to a group of very large animals, crocodiles and dinosaurs, terrible lizards. blooded mammal appeared in desert-like conditions, not much larger than a rat. These fur-covered animals foraged for food, insects and worms and perhaps seeds at night. They may also have nursed their young. The transition of Triassic period into Jurassic period again saw mass extinction. This claimed life of mammal-like reptiles and invertebrates. About 75% of species that existed became extinct. This was probably caused by acid rains. A few more million years passed, and it is during the middle of the Jurassic period, that is around 180 million years ago, that fungi started to fragment into Laurasia and Gondwana land, and the opening constituted North Atlantic Ocean. Gondwana land itself fragmented into western and eastern parts, shrinking Tethys Ocean. Thus, three parts developed: Laurasia, comprising North America, Greenland and Eurasia; Western Gondwana land, comprising Africa and South America; and Eastern Gondwana land, comprising Antarctica, Australia and India. A huge Pacific-sized Paleocean named Mozambique Ocean is believed to have existed between the two Gondwana fragments. Jurassic period witnessed evolutionary diversification of bony fishes, which culminated in their dominance of the sea. Frogs, salamanders, and lizards first appeared. And dinosaurs evolved into bipedal, savage, carnivore predators like Tyrannosaurus and quadrupedal, avosum-sized gigantic herbivores like Brachiosaurus, the heaviest land animals of any period. Not all members of vast Dinosaurus family were giants. In the early Cretaceous period, which is from 135 to 65 million years ago, the northern continents had completely separated from southern ones, and continuous sea encircled the tropics. A crack between North America and Eurasia widened, enlarging the Atlantic. South America and Africa started to separate along the rift that became the South Atlantic Ocean. The Indian subcontinent, then an island, continued on its journey north towards Eurasia. Marine invertebrates increased in variety. The first ancestors of snakes appeared. Many groups of mammals had evolved, but these mammals were generally small. With the appearance of flowering plants, insects underwent a second great diversification. They now account for the majority of animal species. Today, 95% of invertebrates are insects, and they all are terrestrial. About 120 million years ago, the newly formed mid-ocean ridges displaced seas, flooding the continents with water. This fragmentation of continents isolated evolutionary lines such as marsupials, and created warm climate for dinosaurs. By about 65 million years ago, America and Africa had completely separated from each other. The Atlantic Ocean was much narrower, and North America and Europe were still linked by Greenland. The position of the continent had begun to resemble those of today, but Australia was still attached to Antarctica. India was still drifting away from Antarctica towards Asia. From the bird-like reptiles of Jurassic period, warm-blooded birds evolved. They used their strong wings to go far into the ocean in search of fish. Animals with hooves, the first horses that were not more than the size of the present-day fox, lived on soft ground near streams in North American and European forests. And the first primates such as loris, lemurs and tarsiers appeared while dinosaurs were still dominant. Around 65 million years ago, Cretaceous mass extinction took place. The dinosaurs, which had ruled the world, land and sea, penetrating almost every ecosystem for about 140 million years, vanished. Half the world's plants and animal species became extinct. Why were dinosaurs put into fossil records? And by what force? Nobody knows. However, scientists have made certain guesses. Whether it was a dramatic cause when a gigantic million-ton asteroid of the size of 1,000 football stadia, moving at 1 lakh miles an hour, crashed into Earth, punching out a crater 100 miles across. The impact threw up a huge cloud of dust and smoke that would have blotted out the sun's light, causing an extended fatal winter for a long time. Or maybe the sudden change in the temperature of the Earth caused cold-blooded killing of these warm-blooded reptiles. Maybe the plants on the land dried up and caused starvation of these giant reptiles. Some scientists think that ultraviolet radiation caused cataract, making them blind, and they could not cope up with the harsh conditions. Still, other researchers suspect that dinosaurs with gigantic bodies had relatively small brain, and so their sluggish lifestyle did not allow them to survive in a competitive, predatory environment. Whatever may be the reason of demise of dinosaurs, it gave a chance to surviving mammals to thrive in this vacant terrestrial habitat. Evolution of man happened much later in time, which can be safely called as less risky. However, man himself has become greatest danger to life forms is another story. We'll follow up the story of evolution in the last part of the series after Jurassic era.